Good evening and welcome to another community forum. I'm your host, Byron Campbell, and co-host Chris Diali. Good evening, Chris. Welcome. Another week.
Another week. Welcome.
Another week, another dollar.
Yeah.
Right? Probably.
Welcome to our viewers. We're happy to have you here and we're happy to be part of your night, and we hope that we'll have an interesting program for you this evening.
Yeah, we do, and I can say to our listeners or viewers that the program tonight, we are dealing with sports, yeah? We're going to be looking at the whole question of sports administration and sports development, and we have an interesting guest. So the next 15 minutes or so, he'll be on. Chris, I like to start with a little politics, of course. It's the opening of the school year, and what I've observed, we have a lot of politicians across the board taking photo shoots in the schools, I mean, I see it on Facebook, I see it everywhere.
I suppose there's a new politics. Social media, reaching people on that forum versus going on a podium somewhere and talk. I see nothing wrong with it in the sense that, I think the children get to meet ministers, the Prime Minister up front, one-on-one kind of thing. He can answer questions, and so I think it excites the kids.
Well, from the pictures, certainly,
I see it as a positive thing. I mean, a lot of our children don't even know who the Prime Minister is, what is his name, and never
they get an opportunity to go shake his hands to pose with a picture.
Yeah, I think that is something.
So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Staying with the politics, Chris, NNP, the leader of the opposition, Dr. Mitchell, held a press conference yesterday. I saw parts of it on Facebook, on the news, and two things stood out to me. One is that he said that he gave the present administration a failing grade based on the performance, and he gave reasons for that, victimization, a number of things, no progress in projects, etc. And also the other point B is that he said, when questioned about the convention, he said that, look, we lost the election. We lost the ground. We need time to reorganize the ground, to take it before we have a convention. But the argument there, based on the questioning, was that, well, according to your convention, it's yearly. What's happening? It's 23 months, 21 months since there was a convention. So that stood out to me. You heard it. What did you pick up from the press conference?
First of all, let me declare I'm not a politician. I probably don't think like a politician, so that is problematic. But if I take it from the point of view of political common sense, if you want to tone it that way, coach it that way, is that I think delaying the convention cannot be a positive thing for the NNP, because you could challenge that the NNP is facing a leadership issue within the party, and you're hearing the background conversations about that.
Yes.
Dr. Mitchell, I know, is going to be challenged for the leadership of the party, so I think there is a lot of background thing around that. And so the longer, to me, in my view, based on his interview, and nobody's going to push him in that direction, he's going to do it whenever and so on and so on, and alluding that the chairman of the party is the one that is going to call it. I believe they're playing a game for time and for getting delegates on their side and whoever plan to challenge him. So I think
why it should be a challenge, because based on his pronouncement, several of them, he said,
that's
look,
correct.
I'm leaving, I'm out, I just want to be there to see the transition. So why are we anticipating a challenge?
Yeah,
but anyway,
and then you're hearing things about he's quoting people like Dwight. Former SG, and so on. So you're hearing a lot, and you're wondering what is happening there. So there are issues around that. In terms of the issue of giving the government a failing grade, I mean, to me that is more political than realistic and substantive. I mean, I have said on this program many times, I think they have done well in the 18 months plus, in that they've kept things normal. Sectors continue to grow, particularly construction and services and education. So it is, I think, for a brand new team that was green, as I always said, they have done, in my view, relatively well, because people have confidence in the economy and what is happening, and people are continuing to spend and invest and so on. Yes, you may have criticisms about certain aspects and, recent pronouncements about minimum wage.
Well, minimum wage, Chris, here, it's out, at least the recommendations are out, and we've looked at it. What we've seen is what is recommended, of course, it's not yet law, is significant increases, as much as 80%, 50% is probably the minimum. And setting, what's important, Chris, and your response on this would be useful, setting a threshold of $1,200 as the minimum livable wage. Livable wage.
This is a new thing.
But from an economic standpoint, from a business point of view, how practical is it, and what are likely implications implementing such a plan?
My concern here, Byron, is what is going to happen in cases where, let us assume what is put out in the report is accepted.
Yeah.
So, for example, I think they're moving clerical workers, for example, from $700 to $1,200, which is a 71% increase. Domestic workers moving from $725 to $1,200, a 66% increase. And then you have the other areas of agriculture, which is 100%. Elderly and people who are seen after elderly and children is going to move 100% as well, from $7 to $1,400.
Yeah.
So the issue for me is, how is that going to impact unemployment, right? Because if you are accustomed paying your domestic worker, say, $125 a week, which works out to just about $500, and you're moving that person from 7 to 12, I may probably say to you, especially if I'm on a fixed income, I'm a pensioner and so on, I say to you, guys, I can't afford that. I'd rather fight up and see what else I could do. Or do I find somebody else who is willing to take something less and operate with that? No, that is going to create a certain issue for itself. Because somebody may say, okay, Mr. Daly, you can't pay me $1,200, give me $8.
Yeah.
I will work with that.
Yeah.
Because they need the money, they're not doing anything and so on. So that is one problem. And then the issue I see with the livable wage, anything outside of what is not listed here in the minimum wage categories falls under livable wage.
Exactly. That's the minimum. That's the threshold, $1,200. So you can't,
a scenario of I having a gardener that comes home by me and works 2-3 days a week.
Yeah.
And I decide to pay him for that, just say $200 a week or $100 a week.
Yeah.
I cannot do that.
Yeah.
Because it's now $1,200, if I'm understanding this
right. But $1,200 is understood to be a full time, a minimum, let's say 40 hours a week. So there must be some ratio to reduce that if you're working less than.
Because if I have a gardener working and he don't want to work 40 hours a week for $1,200, and he wants to work less, I suppose you could prorate it under the $1,200 banner and give him based on how he works. So that is possible, I suspect, with this. But then how does value for work chime in?
Yeah.
Because this is you have no choice but to pay this.
So
if there is a lot of
at least the government says, look, this is under consideration. We're going to have further consultations with the stakeholders on it. So that's a good thing. Chris, yesterday there was a significant event, a book launch. Dr. Nicole Phillip Dow launching her school text, Junior History of Grenada. It's a big deal, I believe. Kudos to her, congratulations to her, because now for the first time in a real way we will have our history taught in schools. Our students will know what has occurred. What we know about is Columbus and Francis Drake and Raleigh and all of those, but now we learn about Fedor and the cultural dimension of things, and Maurice Bishop, the Revolution, and all of these historical significant events. So it's a big deal. Have you had a copy? Have you seen this text?
I haven't had a copy. I haven't seen it yet. I know Nicole's work. I mean, she does excellent work.
Yeah.
And this is not, I think, her first book, as she has written before. So I welcome it. I think our history for our islands and our countries must be put in perspective in the sense that yes, we knew we were colonialized. Yes, we knew there was slavery. But that is well documented in other issues.
Other texts,
But our history in terms of our nationals and the contribution to what they have done for the development of the island, people like Sir Eric Matthew Gary and Bishop and all of that, needs to be properly chronicled. So our children, you and I who understood the revolution because we were part of it and lived it, we have a lot of young people that don't have a clue.
Exactly, they were born after.
That's right, and there is this need to have this properly chronicled and done, so taught, and so that we understand where we came from, so that there's
I look forward to getting my autographed copy, certainly. Congratulations, Nicole, Dr. Phillip. Very proud of you.
Try and get one from Nicole as well.
Also, we've got the two hotels in the news recently. We had the Kawana Hotel, and that has to do with the acquisition of the government. What the minister indicated is that the amount we don't know, what is that acquisition going to cost us, but clearly they'd have to look for investors to assume to take over this project. But the other one of significance and more recently announced was the Radisson. In other words, the Radisson Grenada now has, the governor of Grenada now has
freehold.
Freehold. What's the significance of this, Chris?
Well, I mean,
what have we gained?
My thing with the Radisson purchase, which has been nicely left out, is that we never understood what the original owners of the land paid for the land. I remember years ago when the subject came up, our race car driver with Grenadian heritage, they believed that he was going to, in purchasing the land from the then government, a deal was struck that he's going to give them advertising for that and so forth.
Yeah.
And at one time I heard very small amounts bandied around for what he got in terms of freehold status for the land. Now we're paying $13 million thereabout, based on what the minister
to get back the freehold status.
So I would presume that the gentleman would have made a significant gain in terms of profit on what he would have purchased for.
He's a businessman.
Right, and what he's paying. Now, you could argue from a government's point of view that we need to get things like that back as freehold. The current people that paying on the lease, the Nicholas Group, is going to continue paying. I suppose now to government, the lease
$250,000 per annum.
Per annum. So I suspect that will be negotiated between them and government and what happens there. So all in all, the question, of course, I know this is just from the economics point of view, not the politics. The politics is another issue.
Another thing,
is if the guy didn't pay much and he gets he gets a serious windfall, kudos to him. That's negotiation. For the government, it's political, because we can now argue it's now back in our coffers. We own it. It's now ours again. And I think Prime Minister Mitchell had said that, any lands on Granans Beach that they have, that government owns, they will no longer be considering freehold status for the lands. So they will be leasing, so it will always be in our
ownership.
So that is something that I think was a campaign promise or whatever, and so they have lived up to that. So I suspect from that perspective is a reasonable conclusion to this matter.
Chris, statutory boards, of course, this came up was recently, particularly with the resignation of the Grenlec chairman. We know on Nawasa there were some changes too on the board. I mean, after a year, just about. It's not unusual for these to be happening on boards. One of the positive thing, though, is that the government, some of the directors on these boards are undertaking directors training, certification of directorship, and I think that's a excellent idea, because in the past, well, even now we have persons on boards who don't understand the purpose. Why they're there and what their contribution should be. So I think this type of training will contribute to better policy, better management of boards, of statutory institutions.
Well, Byron, I've spent a large portion of my life serving on boards in Grenada. And I'm going to say a few things that, I don't know, it's controversial, but I think it's annoying. Boards now require qualified people to sit on boards. And I give an example. If you are sitting on NIS board and you have to be part of the investment committee or the audit committee, which is a critical part of the governance structure of the organization that the board represents, you can't have people that are not accountants and understand auditing and so on these things, because the new governance structures for these things, even with the training, will say that the people that have to come on boards now have to be qualified or professionals, because the activities of the organization require professional outlook. So for Nawasa, you may say, I'm going on the board. Nawasa is an organization that has a lot of engineering things to do with the water development and so on. You can't just put anybody on the board. You'll have to have an engineer come on the board to give proper advice when engineering
matters.
Right. You would have to have a person qualified in HR to deal with union matters and other matters on the board. These are the types of things. Now, our history has been two. Political appointees, who don't really know the elbow from the hand, and then, of course, what we pay. So we still have boards where they were paying $150 a meeting, a chairman getting $600, and so on. You could argue, if you bring in a professional on a board and using up his time, 2-3 hours of his or her time, and you want to pay me $150 or $200, come on. You understand? We need to change that culture. And if this government is about transforming and transformation, that's supposed to be one of the things that we have to. How could you ask Byron to serve on an Awasa board that balance sheet is in the $200+ million and pay him $600? Come on.
That's assuming that's the point. Yeah, in other words, so reasonable remuneration for your time. But the other point is that, look, talk about the balance sheet. As a director, you should be able, your training or your understanding should be able to interpret a balance sheet. That's the other point.
And a lot of us cannot do that. We don't even know what the balance sheet where it starts and ends.
But let's take a short break. Viewers, we'll be right back.
Concerned about your general health and wellness?
Do you need to know your complete blood count, lipid profile, or HbA1c?
Maybe you need to get a renal, thyroid, or liver function test.
Interested in STI screening? For HIV, syphilis, herpes, chlamydia, or gonorrhea?
All of these tests, plus hundreds more, are available at Allied Laboratories.
Allied Laboratories welcomes you. You can find us here on Gladstone Road in Grenville, in the building next to Calico, on the 2nd floor, adjacent to Dr. Isaac's office. Or you can find us here on Grand Anse Main Road, adjacent to South Winds, opposite the entrance of XL Plaza. Contact our Grenville branch at 410-3488 or 419-1588 or send us an email at alliedlabgrenville@gmail.com. You can contact our Grand Anse branch at 403-3488 or 404-3488 or send us an email at alliedlabstgeorge@gmail.com.
Fit for life and Allied Laboratories. We're taking care of Grenada.
Welcome back, viewers, to Community Forum. Our guest this evening, we expect Naka Joseph from Guave, special guest. He's having some technical difficulties joining us. So in the meantime, we'll continue our conversation, Chris, until he joins us. But before I just on sports, I want to tell you that there's a big event on Friday, Chris. Football, Grenada versus Suriname. The stadium is going to be filled, packed, it's going to be sold out, It's a big deal, because this sport's going to bring people together, a large gathering, We're going to beat Suriname 2-0. I just want to tell you that. Chris, while we're waiting on Naka to join us, traffic. I'm to understand that two of the container ships, that's what you call them? Carboat, bringing in as much as 300 vehicles, Chris, in already what's considered our very congested streets. We have, getting from St. George's to Grand Anse could take you sometimes 45 minutes, sometimes more. Getting around, we have parking everywhere, but where's it going? What's the policy? I'm not asking you to explain the policy, Chris, but clearly, at this rate, we are going to, it's not manageable.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the solutions? What can we think about to alleviate or to put some kind of check, some kind of management ability? Because clearly you don't have to be an economist to figure out the cost. If you're a business person, you're going to the south to a meeting and it's taking you an hour, you're losing an hour. Or a delivery van, you have to deliver 10, 12 places. You're not going to be able to...
Or a concrete truck.
Concrete truck. You're not going to be able to do that, So that's a cost on the economy. So you have to look at this traffic from in a very systematic way and look and see how we can reduce the traffic. And our streets are, it's fixed. We're not building new roads. We are maintaining space. It's the same road. So the more you stack vehicles in it, the more congested it becomes. It's simple. It's logic, yeah? So is it sustainable at the present?
I don't think so. And the horses are already bolted from the stable. So there's, I don't know how the government or anybody can tell people you can't buy a vehicle or own a vehicle.
Yeah.
You could use quality control and say vehicles over a certain age are no longer acceptable.
We know 10.
Right.
Can move it lower.
I can move it lower. So that may be a thing we may want to consider. But I think from my observation, and I'm not a specialist by anything.
No.
One of the problems we have in Grenada is that everybody feel when they reach a crossing, they could cross immediately. And we have a lot of crossings going up all over the country. Right? The police just painted a whole set of crossings. There's new ones they've put up. And you get this impression that as soon as a pedestrian reaches on a crossing, they have the right to cross right away.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in other countries where there is traffic lights and crossing lights, you cannot cross right away. You have to stay on the side, wait for a certain amount of minutes to allow the traffic to flow.
Yes.
Because every time somebody gets there, if 10 people get there at 1 minute intervals, the traffic stops for about 12 to 15 minutes. It backs up.
So is the traffic lights going to be?
Well, the traffic lights may be there, but I'm not sure they're crossing lights. But when the traffic light is on, you can't cross, of course.
Right.
So it operates dual as a. But there are other areas where crossings are there, and you have. I mean, Tantine is a good example for the kids from high school and TAMCC and so on.
Yes.
The kids will not gather. As they reach, they have to cross.
Exactly. So,
and the traffic stops.
But
so that's just one.
We have to continue that conversation. I've been informed that Naka Joseph is now with us. Good evening, Naka. You're there. Well, Naka Joseph is of course great.
Yeah.
Good to have you.
I don't know if you've seen me and hearing me. Are you hearing me?
Good. I'm hearing you definitely, and now I'm seeing you. Let me just say this about this gentleman. Special guest, Naka is a known basketball coach and a sports administrator for over 40 years. Actually, you've coached throughout, even overseas in Trinidad, but on the national basketball team, certainly in your own parish in St. John's. You've been, for many years, the head coach and technical director of Grenada National Basketball Association. You're, since 1987, I mean, Grenada knows about sparkles, sparkless, sparklights. Sissons. Sissons Sparklers Basketball Club. Let me say it.
For transparency,
But you've had a lot of your training in the U.S. You're an author. There's a lot more we'll find out about you during the conversation, though. But welcome indeed. We are really happy to have you. Let me start, Naka, by saying that you've spent a sizable part of your life as a sport administrator and coach. I mean, my first question is why? What have you gained from this? Why have you dedicated your life to this? What is in it for you?
It's not about me. It's really about, to me, it's giving back to community, really. If my life, I saw it as just, like for my doing and for my own, self-development or whatever, I find that life was a kind of jokey life to live. So I thought my thing was about relationships and really working within the community, and not only community, but Grenada as a whole, and by extension, the Caribbean. So That is our site. I just come out and make my contribution. Because I've seen people that went before me that also made contributions, and I would have benefited in large measure because of that. So I just thought it was, they're passing on the torch as my turn today.
Basically, you've worked with youths, a young male in particular. But what is the significance of sports for youth development? Is there a connection? No, what is there? Why is it important, clearly?
Well, I mean, the thing about youth development and sports, I mean, sports offers so much opportunities in terms of a career. I mean, we have a number of people, like I could mention to you, that went on because of sport. We have bankers, we have electricians, we have refrigeration experts, we have engineers, we have the top physiotherapists in my belief in Grenada, like Gavin Taylor Jr., who used to be a player. He has his thing set up at the National Stadium. We have CEOs and managers of different companies in the US that came through. We had Dr. Tristan Smith, cardiologist, even though he was not a player, but just being around as a commentator and an official scorer for me. I mean, we have a number of people that pass through the sporting arena, and what the sport does, like in most cases, like where academic and some of the other things would fall short, is that it allows you to interact and be able to work with your peers, because you have to give off of yourself, you have to put self-secondary in order to work with the group so that the group could benefit and not be selfish. So that is an integral part of the whole thing about working with youth and the development. And key for me was the discipline part too as well. You could instill discipline, at an early age. It's kind of easier for you most times as a teacher than when you have to deal with some of the older folks who are set in their ways. So I think from the youth standpoint, it's really good. And I mean, sport is a billionaire industry, and I don't think we really start to zero in on sports in a serious way. I still find we talk about the creatives and the creative industry. Grenada have not used sport as part of that. But if you look at China, and if you read Florida, Richard Florida, I think, take on the whole thing, you see sport has been part of the creative, but we have sport separate here. And I think we really need to get into sport in a serious way. Government has invested a lot of money in terms of facilities and things, but we're not really getting in on it. I mean, it's a $1 billion industry, and we're just scratching the surface. We really need to come together and really start to maximize our potential in sport. We really need to do much more.
Good evening, Mr. Joseph.
You know each other?
Yes.
Yeah, that is it. That's my old manager and sponsor and everything in one, mix up. Dr. Diali, how are you doing?
Very well, Mr. Joseph. And my question to you, of course, is going to feature among what you have done in your community in Grove and St. John's, and even wider, on youth development and how that has both male and female now. In the earlier days it was male, but I know, and from reading some stuff about you, that you have assisted, around 25 young basketballers in obtaining scholarships in the U.S., who have about 90.
Most of them, not all of them, but most of them.
Right, and you have at least 19 of them getting their bachelor's degree and master's, about 6 of them. So from where you sit, and I hear you talking about the issue of how, you feel about giving back to the community, but let's take basketball, because basketball has been your main area of coach and development. How important do you see that in dealing with youth violence and youth delinquency? How can basketball and sport help with those areas?
Youth delinquency and youth violence. I mean, it'd be a good thing if you had some of the players that went through talk to you of somebody like, the life that they used to be living before they hit the basketball court, and the discipline and how they able to turn around themselves as a result of the discipline. Because basketball for me, because my background really is martial arts in large extent, so the discipline is sort of rooted in the martial arts, and by extension I sort of pass it on or use it, some of the skills in the basketball arena. So I'm very tight when it comes to discipline. I mean, and it's always easier for one to learn something if there's a semblance of order As a scientist like you know the brain like to function when there is order. So if you have that discipline and you have the order, then it's always easy for you to deal with the training that is necessary, because as you get into the training and it becomes tougher, you know, it sort of demands of you greater responsibility on yourself, greater output on yourself. You know, it really calls into question, you know, a lot of strength and courage and a lot of other things that goes with it.
So you are more than just a coach of technical skills in basketball, based on what you're saying, because for players to stick with the program, understanding the heavy discipline that is required to be in the program, Naka Joseph have to be about coaching their minds, coaching them about respect, and being human and understanding respect for you, of course, as a coach. So how is that transition happening with young people? Because you could chat that young people these days not about following authority and want to have respect for each other, want to fight and get involved. How do you get over that and get their minds to say, listen, you know, if I want to be part of this team, I have to have respect for my colleagues, my players, and the coach. How do you get that transition?
I think you just said it. I think you just said it. How do I want to be part of this team? You know, as you made that point, you know, it's kind of strange enough that our team has been the most successful team maybe in all team sports in Grenada. And we have had the fewest set of players come and join, and I think it's because of that discipline. Because I never recruit. I don't recruit players. Most of the players that come to join the team, some of the senior players would bring them along and ask them if they're interested or whatever. So that is one thing. So if you come to join the team, you really come in because you think that you could be a part of this team, and you know, at the beginning I would ask you from the onset if you really think that you want to join this team, because you know it's a difficult proposition for you. It demands a lot of things of you, heavy discipline. I mean, and let the players is who set the time for practice. I don't set time for practice, but I is the one that hold the feet to the fire when it comes to practice. So I'd ask, and you come up, for instance, are you really interested? And you say, sure. I said, okay, don't practice tonight. You watch and see. I don't think you understand what's going on. You sit and watch practice, and at the end of the practice, tell me if you still want to practice. And sometimes they say yes, they still want to, and sometimes they never show up for the next practice, and sometimes some of them do, and you know, they go through and they make it through. But it's tough really for young people like you say to deal with discipline, and sometimes a lot of it had to come back to the coaching, for instance, because a lot of coaches compromise when they think that players are talented and they want to do well. But I'm not concerned about doing well, because I know if we train properly and we work together, we will do well. So, you know, there is no getting away because you're the top player, you're most talented player, that you come in practice whenever you want, you don't come when you want, and you know that can't work really with us. That ain't gonna work with, not even the senior players gonna let you know before I even talk to you about your whole, you know, practice schedule and how practice is and how you deport yourself and things that you don't do in practice or what we do in game. You know, after you play sometimes you don't go on the table how much you score, and then all these things, and then you know they put it aside. They will drill you and make sure that you fit into the shell and you follow suit. But we have not. I mean, like you say, discipline is something that is lacking, and there are times when I would discipline players and they would fall off of the team. And then when I look and see them playing on somebody else's team, or they playing another sport, and it seems as though they have absolutely no problem. They continue to do what they are accustomed doing.
Yeah, you can't be player and manager and coach at the same time. You have to distinguish yourself. I want to move you over to another area.
Hold a second. When you say be player, manager, coach, I don't understand that plan.
No, I'm saying from a player's perspective. Some of them want to.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah, so, the talented players always try to do that. They always think that they could call the shots. Yeah.
Correct. So I want to move to another aspect of your development and career, which is your authoring of 3 books that you have done. The first one is From Tigers to Sparklers, The History of Basketball Chronicled in Grenada. The second book, On the Energy of Guave, depicts life in Guave in St. John's. And the third book had to deal with Peter Perry founder.
In St. John's, I sports people that would have interact and somehow get in touch with the energy. The energy happened to be around here. I don't know for whatever reason because I know. So it's not only Goa people, they have people from all over the island in there. It's a sort of misnomer with the name of the book really, but that's where I see the energy develop, so that's why I call it the energy of God. So
okay.
All right. And then of course the last one is on Peter Perry Pongler, the famous footballer that of course have his origins from Goa. And my question to you is...
That's not the last one, you know. I have a last one after that.
Oh, wow.
So you're author of now 4 books?
No, author is my brother-in-law.
All right, Naka, I hear that. So let me ask you, what drove you to write and put things on paper? I mean, you've been coaching, and you could probably say being a coach will give you a kind of a side thing to authoring, because you're chronicling things for us in Grenada that I have read a couple of your books. I never knew about Peter Perry Pongler and what he was able to achieve in Grenada in football and how gifted he was as a footballer. That was news to me reading that. And, you know, we just had Dr. Dow, Dr. Nicole Philip Dow, put out a book for the history in Grenada and to chronicle Grenada's history. And I think you are joining her in this from a sports perspective. Because we are learning things that we never knew.
She's joining me.
Oh, she's joining you.
Sorry.
Right, but what has driven you to chronicle these things and put it in your books and give us an idea, and the young people in particular? Because, you know, we have this thing in Grenada about country and tongue and who better and who in better. And the issue is, when you have highlighted, in my view, superstars from Goa, we have Kirani, we now have footballers, we have basketballers. What have driven you to put this in writing?
I think it started with basically, I don't know if it's, I just thought that maybe we should sort of pay respects to the forebearers in a way, but more than that too, I think one of the problems I had, even in teaching sports over time, is that low self-esteem that I notice among players or people in sports. Even like you just mentioned, like people from Goa, when they come to perform in town, they feel like the people in the city is better than, even within those ranks, and even within our parish, you find that some of the outer villages, when they come to play in the town, that they think they have a problem there, they can't perform well because of the crowd and all that. And it's even worse when we leave Grenada shows to go out there. We had a number of people that went before us that perform on the international scale, and a lot of people did not know for whatever reason. They just brushed it aside. I don't know if it's because you guys place so much emphasis on academia that all you see the sportsman has been an important ingredient in the whole scheme of things. So that to me, as if it fits in with, you know, if you're not bright, I'll say local. If you're not bright, then you play sports, you know. But that somehow it is not really true, because we've seen a number of people.
Certainly not, no, because if you're an international footballer, you have to be able to understand the various tactics that the coach wants you to do, and where to be and how to be, and what is in football,
and be business savvy.
Yeah, what is it meaning a 3-4-4 or whatever the case may be, you know. So you have to be able to.
Yeah, but you academics, you see, all you come with this 3-4-4 and all kind of thing, all you kind of mess up the thing a little bit too, making the sport so academically inclined. But when you do that, you're making it very mechanical, and you take away the spontaneity. Because if you realize the guys that really perform at the highest level are primary school players, really. Before this reaches primary school, whether it's Ronaldo, whether it's Messi, whether it's Mbappe, before those guys reach as far as school is primary school. Because something tends to happen when you push yourself too further into the academic field. Somehow, I don't know, like, I don't want to say interfere, because I mean, it's an entire being, really. And then we do this thing about chopping up everything and separating and say you can play sports, but you're not academically gifted, or you're that gifted, or you're not whatever. But a lot of the people I notice in sports, even Lewis Hamilton, for instance, he again, I don't think he went college. A lot of them cut short the stuff there, and they just focus, they put all the thing into sport. And these are some of the richest people. I mean, without a doubt.
Okay, so I know Byron will come in, but I want the last thing for you. I mean, administratively in Grenada.
Did I answer, Doctor? Did I answer you on?
Yes.
On the books, I did. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I want to move now to the sports administration in Grenada, and I know you have had your difficulty with administrators in various organizations in Grenada. I know you have wanted an indoor facility for basketball and golf for a number of years. This government, the last government and governments before have not seen it fit. I know the government is making a concerted effort now to light up fields. I know they lighted up Montrouge, and they have done other fields. I didn't see the stadium yet. I don't know when the stadium will get lighted for us to get CPL cricket. But tell me in a brief sentence, Naka, or in a few words, what you think needs to happen with our administration of sports in Grenada?
That is a tough one. I think what has happened is, well, you know, most of the big organizations, they say it was non-profit. Well, sorry, I didn't say it is non-profit, like FIFA and IOC and all of them supposed to be non-profit, but over the years, a lot of these institutions them have been making, tremendous amount of money. You see the issues with Jack Warner and those things that have a trickling down effect in terms of what happened with our administration in the islands, of course. What has happened is that a number of people, because prior to 1987, especially in the area of sports, let's say officiating, table officials, referees, what have you, these things were done basically free. People were doing that for free. There was voluntary that along with the administration. In 1987, I introduced stipend for officials at the government. And they brought me before the minister for that, because they say I was trying to mash up the sports in the country, and sports is voluntary, and look, this man come paying officials and then what is he trying to do? And they give me some licks. I took some licks with that. Somebody, the brain of sports, and them thought that I come hot and sweaty and I was going to disappear. But you see, 45 years are still here because it was not about what they think it was about. But I think as far as the administration goes, I think we have changed the focus whereby too much emphasis is placed on administrators staying in position or the voting by slate and people trying to hold on to position to benefit and what have you. I think too much emphasis is now placed on the administration. So what you find happening is that the athletes who are supposed to be in order priority, the number one, then you have coaches, track officials, and the administrators down at the bottom, because the administration only exists because of the athletes, but the athletes could play without the administrators. But we change that thing around, and it's a big squabble. Everything is about administrators. As a matter of fact, I was listening to the news tonight, and I was listening to one of the members of the LOC, I think he's the vice chairman, that is Aaron Moses, and they were talking about plans well ahead in terms of fixing the stadiums and getting all the equipment and everything in place and what have you. And I need a single word in terms of athlete preparation. So I don't know who will be running at the Carifta, because we didn't do well the last time around. But I don't hear anybody talking about plans and what stage the athletes at and what we put in place for athletes. But you hear them talking about it. They're changing the track and they're going to be fixing up the stadium and new equipment. And so you see where the emphasis has gone.
So essentially, what I'm hearing you say, Naka, is that the whole question of how resources are distributed and the overall governance in sports administration is one thing. And
we have a lot of work to do because, for instance, I don't know if you saw the clip with Lyndon Victor. You see, he is not able to garner the sort of endorsements like some of the other athletes out in Canada that came first and second in the decathlons. They would get Nike and what have you. He doesn't get that. He might get maybe apparel. I mean, a two-time world champion only get apparel from Adidas. Maybe the person with the best contract to date is Kirani. You see? So how do these guys maintain that at that level? This is the problem here. You know? So these are things where the administrators are supposed to come in and say, okay, fine, let me work together and get this thing done, work along with government, set up something so we have some funding, because these guys are performing internationally. They need to have all the equipment, they need to have the training, the physio paid for, doctor, this thing, what have you. But we're not doing that. We're still functioning like a bunch of individuals, you know.
Okay.
Every NOC here, government here, whatever, no, and then they'll come together to work together. But when you have to perform at the international level, we need all hands on deck, you know, and we have to channel that funding in the right, direction. I don't think we're doing that right now.
It's a big point, because if if sports administration, sports management is not, it affects the athlete. You don't get the,
we don't want to talk about cricket. Cricket is, the best example of that.
Big thing,
national football. The only reason Jamaican national team had reached where they reached in the last World Cup or the World Cup before was because government took over and gave them heavy subsidies that the players could constantly be together, gave them a salary, and so on and so. It's not a small investment. And if countries are not able to do that, as Naka is saying, to play at the international level, they won't make it.
Because you talk about investment, Naka, but two things I want to raise you. First one is you talk about Karani James. National hero. How should Grenada honor this hero? What is St. John's? What is Gov? What is Gun Battle prepared for his return?
Prepared for his what, you said?
What is Gov? What is St. John's? What is Gun Battle? What is the preparation there for his return?
Return when? Oh, you mean after the Olympics?
After the Olympics, he's going to retire at some point. He's going to.
Of course he's going to retire. The thing is that we had some billboards, both at the entering go up down by the cemetery side, and I think they was asking to put one up at the top by the health center of the Dr. Bell area.
Okay.
These things has been done for the last couple of years, and I don't know why it's not up yet. My thinking is that they were going to change that Depretin Street, because one of the things when they asked for what they should do in 2012, some of the proposals that we made was that they should name a street or whatever in his honor, whatever, but they named nothing in St. John's. As a matter of fact, they end up changing Kirani James Boulevard down in St. George's, and they put Arlene Francisque as the roundabout. But they should do something in Grenville and also do something, whether they had to change Depretin. Nobody knows Depretin, why that street is named Depretin. Nobody historian can tell you how that street, whether these people own that back in the 1700s or whatever. So that is not done. And maybe we should do something. I see they have underwater sculpture park that they be doing. They put on a lot of different things there, but I feel like I do something for sport and put on the Olympic champion down there, do something sculpting. And
when I'm swimming, I'm going to see it.
You want to join Kirani, but Naka, I want to ask that question. I want to ask that question from another angle, and the angle is: here is a hero of Grenada, has done phenomenal at the Olympics, at World Games. How do we use him in terms of his experience? We have a lot of young potential 400-meter runners coming up based on what is happening at Intercall, both male and female. How do we use him?
I'm not sure if you have. You had. I don't know if you have.
Okay, well,
because
those to come.
Rondell Bartholomew is not there. Chaplin sub in some band. Who is the next one? Hudson Charles and then from 2016 from SAS. I don't know where they are. I don't know if they're in Miami. I don't know where they are. So I don't think we really have much 400-meter runners right now. But that is something, again, we should have been investing seriously.
My point is, how could we use Karani's fame, his learnings from where he have gotten, what it took for him to get there? How could we use him as a consultant to now start training young minds who are interested in using sport, as you said, it's $1 billion business, using sport as a career to get where the Jamaicans, I think, have the formula and they do it very successful. So the issue is, I don't
want us to shift. I don't want us to shift to Jamaica. I think stay on Grenada. Don't shift it.
No. I just use Jamaica as an example of how they have done well in sports over the years. And they obviously had to have a serious management structure in place. Is that something Grenada could look to use Kirani, use the young man with the javelin, Anderson Peters, use these guys now that they're Catholics? How can we use them to inspire? And in a structured way. That's the point, in a structured way.
One of the things that happen is that not when the basketballers come back, like say Hakim Simon, when he goes up in Grenville, when Akim come back, we try to bring some of the talented players together, and they would set up camp, and they would, we practice with some of the younger players, talk to them, think, show them, he give them tips on like what's going on out there, from time to time. What we have not done in track and field with all these successes is that we have not brought back those athletes and them as a group, whether from Francis time, whether from Kirani, Rondell, brought them back during the summer and let it go around, because normally track and field would have what you call an outreach program where they go into different communities and do track and try to introduce sometimes new sports and things. What we have not seen over the last 15 or 12 years is that these guys coming back and going around the country, set up something in go to St. George's, go Victoria, whatever. We have never done that. You've never seen anyone, if anything has been done, maybe in St. David when Anderson and Lynn come back to train or whatever, but to say go around the island, I have not seen it. I don't know if it has ever been done, but I cannot say I see that for sure, because we could start with that.
What about swimming, Naka? Swimming in Grenada over the years have been doing very well in terms of potential, where we've seen both male and female partaking in sports in the region and medaling and so on. And up to now, we can't get a 50-meter pool. We had money for a 50-meter pool. We can't decide whether we want to put it in Guava or we want to put it in Sotes or Tong.
So we lost the money?
Well, apparently, I don't know. Naka probably could tell us, but what is happening? I mean, why can't our sport administrators make a decision on a simple thing as a 50-meter pool location? We will deal with the operation cost after. But if we have all this potential in swimming...
I'm glad you said operation cost intro, because that was something that was mentioned by one of the president of Jamaica NOC, when somebody mentioned to him about building a pool, and he was saying the maintenance cost of the pool alone, what he was doing to Jamaica at the time. But anyway, put that aside. Yes, I see what you're saying in terms of getting the pool. I think money was allocated, a part funding from I don't know who, whether it's the swimming federation body, the international body would have made contributions to whatever. I'm not sure. So as far as that goes, I'm not sure why it has not. I think a place was allocated. They was thinking about putting it somewhere in the stadium. I think at one point, I think they had dug up some place there, and I don't know, that went on halt again. So I'm not sure what is the situation with that. You might have to find out from the swim coach and them and see exactly what is going on.
This puts our athletes at a great disadvantage. Naka, I just want to explore with you. I mean, there's a whole question of sports having a cultural value. That we know that through sports we have an identity and a community. Through sports there's cultural interaction with different cultures, people come together. Is there a value though, cultural value to sports?
When you say the track meets here,
I try to understand the question. When you say cultural
cultural value, is there a cultural dimension to it that's important? The fact that people come together for this sporting event. Is there a value to culture? I mean, we put a value, for example, to our mass bands and carnival. That's a cultural value.
Yeah, well,
is there a value?
Of course, because it's historic for us. I mean, people. That's why I mentioned Kirani earlier, and I'm saying that the Prime Minister in one of his, I think, was UN meeting, he met somebody from some small country from away, and he was trying. The person was trying to ask him where he's from. And he said Grenada, and the guy said Granada. Oh, from Spain. He said no, not Spain. He said Grenada. So the guy is there. He's trying to think Grenada. And then the Prime Minister said Kirani James. He said, oh yes. Kirani James, 400. Yes, London. So by that alone, it shows that the world has recognized Grenada. He has been maybe the most known Grenadian to a lot of people worldwide. I don't even sure if any of the politicians would have reached that kind of level in terms of being known at the international level like Kirani.
Now that you mentioned
culture,
go ahead.
Yeah, so I said when you talk about culture, that to me is an integral part, because we have sports coming from since the 1700s, maybe since those guys came in. And if you look at some of the great houses that we have, even the home for the aging Guava or Douglas Estate, even somebody, you see that there are tennis courts right next to those houses. So it means that sport was being played by those planters and them since then.
One of the significant part of it, Naka, is in fact, particularly for young sports men and women, youths, the exchanges. They travel to different islands. You know, this cultural exchanges also. People learn about one another through sports, and that's an important dimension and development for young people.
It is, and
but one of the areas that we have not again. We talk about sports tourism, which seems to be, I don't know, a figment of the imagination. I've never seen anything jokey like that. Sparklers Basketball Club, well, our main sponsor is there with you. We have brought in as a club maybe more teams from the region than even some federations did. And it's not difficult thing to do with assistance from some, we have some of the senior players, and we have people on the management committee that work along with me. They do, most of the work. But the connection making, I was supposed to have the University of Trinidad and Tobago coming in and play. Even, without facilities I'm talking about. So, and we have traveled to more countries playing basketball around the region than most of the clubs. Right?
I'm told by the director I'm slowly running out of time, but in 30 seconds,
tell the director.
I know. One of the things I wanted.
That's the problem with sports, you know. If it's the politicians, they get in 3 hours, but sports, you see, they're cutting us out already.
So the good thing is that we're gonna have you back, of course.
Well, but talk to the director, please, as
I will. I just want to mention, though, that you have Sparklers, basketball, new basketball, the future of basketball, the success of basketball is really indoor courts. After 40 years of your involvement with St. John's, Grove does not have a basketball court, internal court. Have you failed?
We received $1.3 million from Taiwan. It's not only we ain't get the indoor, we received money for the indoor. The project was written by St. John's Basketball League.
Yeah.
And we end up with, as a matter of fact, what we got for that was a damaged court for 10 years.
So where's the money? Where did the money go?
Oh, that's a nice question.
So we're gonna have an inquiry on this, Naka.
Inquiry.
But look, that's all the time we have, Naka.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry about the mix-up with the computers and stuff. I don't know. Flo need to fix that up.
Naka, my last question from you is, 40 years is a long time, and you have invested a lot. Do you believe, and this is a question, do you believe that we're going to see an indoor facility anywhere in Grenada, forget golf, anywhere in Grenada that could take basketball to the next level? I know we have something of an indoor facility in Laborie.
Just about to tell you that. Right. We have a covered facility.
Right.
And that should have come in Guava, because I had discussion with the then Prime Minister, Minister of Works and Adrian Spaceman Mitchell. At the time he was the sports minister. And the Minister of Works take it and go and cover the court.
So the question is, here we have the deputy chairman of athletics talking about giving you a new Mondo track, upgrading the stadium facilities to attract international type sports. Yeah. Could we get the same thing for basketball? Do you think it will happen in your lifetime?
It could happen. Like I told them on numerous occasions, if you don't want to build up something and use all the heavy stanchion and stuff, they have coat covers in China made out of tensile membrane that could withstand. We spoke to the people in China. They say they could build that up to take winds of 210 miles an hour after Hurricane Maria in Dominica. So we give them that, we give them the heights. I have drawings of that, of the latest indoor facility that we put out. We have the costings for it. I guess everything would triple right now. And I even had costing for putting down the stuff that one of the local engineers look at it. So we still have another thing.
We have a government spend a lot of money on assets.
Naka, that's all the time we have. I want to thank you very much, no problem. Coach, sports administrator, author. I see you as an activist, development activist, particularly working in Grove, in that community. Grenada, we all let me just say it simple. We big you up for that.
See see me as an ordinary man. You could take out all the accolades and put them on the side.
Thank you very much for that gigantic effort.
No problem,
have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
And we will have you again.
The same to you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Viewers, thank you. Viewers, that's all the time we have. We want to thank you for being with us. We'll see you next week on Community Forum. Same time, same place. Bye-bye. Yeah.